Hello, Kristin Florin. It's so nice to see you.
Hello, nice to see you.
You're a product leader. You're also a technical operations leader. You're currently working at BreakingT, and you've had an extensive career in product and technology for over 20 years. When I met you, you were working at Custom Inc., and I believe you were on year 1920 at the
Somewhere in there.
time. But I think I recall when we met, which I believe was at a Chuck E. Cheese.
That might be right.
We met through our sons. I shared at a high level where you were working, but can you tell us the story of your career?
Sure, yeah. So I started at a company right out of college called Custom Inc. I was working in our sales and service team, which at the time was the face of the company. No one else spoke to the customers at all. And I learned a ton through actually hearing from customers day in and day out. I managed to make a leap from doing that to leading one of our operations teams. We didn't really have a true product organization at Custom Ink at the time. The company was only about 6 years old. And I just kept getting roped into, hey, we need this internal tooling for our team members. And you know a lot about how all the different teams work. So why don't you help our engineer understand what it is that they're trying to build? That's really how I got introduced to what product was, understanding what the customer needs were, understanding what the ecosystem was and the environment in which our engineers were trying to build, and working alongside the engineers to understand what is and isn't possible and finding what's the sweet spot between all of those things to go build the right thing. And so then I became the first internal product manager at Custom Ink. And I did that for many years and then started building out a team. And then unfortunately, Custom Ink went through a massive layoff. And so I got swept up in that, which was very unfortunate and very unexpected from my perspective. In the aftermath, I found my way to BreakingT, where I am overseeing operations and technology. That has been quite the whirlwind. I've been here now for 1 year, and it's been a lot of exciting change and a lot of learning about myself and about a brand new company, which is something that has been really incredible to go through.
You were touching upon the fact that you were at Custom Ink for 20 years. And then in late 2023, there were the layoffs. It's an understatement to say in the tech world, it's a bit messy right now. And some still have really great jobs, but they're scared. Others are in a messy middle of having been laid off. And others, like you, have gotten to the other side to a certain extent. And I would really love in this conversation to tell your story of the layoff, the messy middle, and now where you are. If listeners were to take one thing away as we're talking about the mess and reaching the other side, what do you hope they'll take away from it?
I think the biggest thing is don't let yourself feel like you have to live in a box. I left Custom Ink after 20 plus years, and I was like, I have to find a product director or director plus type role. That is what I have to go do because that's what my resume says. And therefore, that's what I am. I guess the other piece of it is don't live inside the box, but also listen to those around you. Now, I spent a lot of time talking to a lot of people that I really trusted and I really admired and talked about what, if they were in my shoes, what would they go do? And one of my biggest mentors at Custom Ink, she and I had lunch together and she was like, do you even love product like that much that it has to be the only thing you're looking at? And in my mind, I was like, oh, I do love product. But at the same time, she was right. Does that have to be the only thing I'm considering or the only thing I'm looking at? In that 20 years of product experience, I also had a ton of operations experience, and putting blinders on and avoiding looking at what else does my career lend itself to was really a big mistake early on in my transition. And once I took those off and really started to understand I have more to offer. I am not just this one thing.
Your story is really fascinating to me, where your first job out of school, I believe, was custom ink,
Yeah. Yep.
and you were there for 20 years.
Yes.
And it sounds like you were learning along the way. It wasn't the same job. You were hopping around as well, but can you speak to that? Why 20 years? What was keeping you there? What was inspiring you?
Yeah. I always laugh because in my interview at Custom Ink, the person that was interviewing me was the leader of sales at the time. And he asked the like very quintessential question of, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And I was 21 years old, and I literally, I think I was out of college for 5 weeks at that point. And so I said, I really hope that I've established myself with a company that I've managed to really learn the ins and outs of and have grown with. And he, dead in my face, 20 something years ago. And so we were very much face to face, not on the internet at all. And he laughed and he was like, no one does that anymore. Oh, okay. And so it's just so funny to me. That was my introduction into this company, into the professional world. And every year when I had my anniversary of my work, I was like, oh, Rob said no one does this. And here I am. This was different and not what people typically experience. But at the same time, I found a really great company. And I think I lucked into it. I was literally applying to every single job that was posted that I could. I very much lucked into this, but the company was great. And it was something where I very early bought in to what we were trying to do. It was a company that makes customized t-shirts. It's very easy to be like, it's just t-shirts. But it was also, for me, it was very important because it represented something to all of our customers. So our customers weren't spending $400 on t-shirts just to blow $400. They were buying t-shirts because they were celebrating some big victory. Somebody ran a marathon and wanted to celebrate that, celebrating birthdays and having joined a sorority or fraternity, having gotten married, celebrating things like people were fighting cancer or other serious childhood diseases and wanted to uplift spirits and have a feeling of togetherness and community. That really inspired me. Every day I felt like my job was not done yet, making this the best experience that it could be for our customers who were getting something that was so meaningful to them. And so there were plenty of times where I was like, that's it. They don't value me. I'm not making the career progression that I want to make. There were plenty of those times where I was like, that's it. I'm out. Even in 2017, I had come to a decision that I was going to leave because some leadership was brought in over top of me that I felt very poorly about. My new manager was just someone that I did not respect fully. And I felt like this is not a good situation. In that moment, I was like, I need to get out. I interviewed with Amazon. I interviewed with a few other places. But at the end of the day, I just kept coming back to the fact that my job wasn't done. I really felt deeply that I wanted to see it happen where a customer would come on to customink.com and have the best experience possible. And then their order would be handled in the best way possible. And that would be done as effectively and efficiently as possible so as to make a good amount of money so that Custom Ink could just keep churning that system.
It's really speaking to me as you're saying your job wasn't done.
Yep.
And it also speaks to me, like, I really hear you as you were saying, it's a t-shirt company designing custom t-shirts and shipping, but it was about the people and the
Yeah.
events in their life and the connection they were building. It wasn't just about t-shirts. I'm wondering, you said several times your job wasn't done. And then in late 2023, your job, at least at the time with Custom Ink, was done with the
Yeah.
layoffs. And I really wanted to delve into, how did you handle that? What was that period like for you during the layoff?
Yeah. So I'd say I handled it poorly to start. part, I had a very big project that was releasing. I think I got told on like a Thursday. That Friday, we were hosting at the office a baby shower for one of my very close coworkers. So that Thursday, I cried in my office and then I went home and I couldn't tell anyone either because, like, I found out early the layoffs were actually happening on Friday. I was told on Thursday so that I would then be able to tell the people on my team on Friday who were being let go. I also had a very big project that was releasing that following Wednesday. And when I was told on Thursday, I was told your last day is December 28th. This was probably, I think this was like December 7th or something in there. So it was like 20 days notice. And I was told, but you don't have to keep working if you don't want to for the next 20 days. And I was like, how can I not? Like, I have the biggest project I was releasing in 3 months was releasing that following Wednesday. And I was like, of course I have to be here. Of course I have to see this through. I kept going to the office. I kept working. I went to that baby shower where everyone knew something was up with me because people saw me crying in the office the day before, but I couldn't say what was going on because it hadn't been announced what was happening later that afternoon. I would recommend take them up on the offer. If you don't have to work, just stop. It's okay. It's really okay. The person that was taking over all the work that I had been responsible for, I wanted to make sure they were set up for success. Then I ended up in a meeting with them and a couple other people where they were asking questions about a product that I had designed. I had been the one that was responsible for it. The questions that they were asking were so basic and so clear that they didn't even understand the lowest level of what was this product for, and yet they were about to own it. I got so upset because they also should have been a person that was utilizing this product for the last 2 years, and I was like, "How do you not understand this basic fundamental thing, and now you're gonna own it instead of me? Like, you're still here, I'm not here." And so it was so unhealthy for me, and so I reached out to my boss and I said, I really I thought I was gonna keep working, but I really can't. Thank you for the offer that I do not have to, so I'm gonna take you up on it. I cannot."
I'm sorry you had that experience. I think we spoke in a coffee shop a few days after this was happening for you. I'm wondering, you've been at the company for 20 years. There's a party for one of your coworkers the day after you hear the news. There's a lot of discussion where your workplace isn't your family and it's not your friends. I wonder, how did you feel before the layoff when you started your career 5 weeks out of college and you've been there for 20 years? Was it your family and friends for you?
Absolutely. And that was an interesting transition period at Custom Ink. In the beginning of 2023, we shut down 2 of our production facilities, and that was the first time that we had really had layoffs. And in that moment, it was the first time that our leadership was also saying, "This is business. We're a team. We are not a family." And we had always referred to ourselves as team members and things like that. Repeatedly, we celebrated the couples who came together at Custom Ink and got married, and we would celebrate, oh, the first inker baby, which was the Custom Ink couple that came together and then they had a baby. That was very exciting to all of us. It very much was a culture where we were not discouraged from being friendly and being together. We were a young company as well. When I started in 2003, we had very few people that were over the age of 40. I think there were 35 people when I started. It was just a tight knit group of 20 to 30 somethings who were all working very hard, but also playing very hard. All of us grew up together, and new waves of, as we hired more people, tended to come in and feel that same environment. So, yeah, it was a very difficult transition, and it was a hard thing to hear our CEO pointedly say, "We are not family." His point in saying that was, in a family, you don't have a choice. You are who you are together with your family. You do not have the choice to not be a part of that family. Versus if we're talking about a team and a business, but a team, you have the choice to join a team, you have the choice to leave a team, and the team has the choice to accept you, and the team has the choice to let you go.
You heard the news you were going to be laid off and you did want to stay, you did want to see things through for the project, and you wanted to see things through for the people there. To the point of what the CEO was saying, we're not a family, we have a choice here. This is business. You're now a year and a half out from that. You've had some time to process. You're a leader at your organization. Can you share with me to what degree your viewpoint and mindset now aligns with that approach? Or is there a happy medium there? I'm curious, as a leader of an organization, how do you think about the people and how should organizations best operate?
So I do agree with the sentiment that you should not treat your work like family because tough choices do have to be made. And I learned that firsthand. I cannot imagine that it was an easy choice to have me let go at Custom Ink. Do believe I was doing good work. I do believe that I was a good influence across the organization as well. Tough choices have to be made in organizations when it comes to people. I have had to experience that so far in my 1 year at a very small company. We've already had to have some really tough discussions and some really tough choices made. And I think it's so much healthier for folks to recognize that it is a choice to show up to be at your work every single day. It is a choice to be here. And therefore, you are making the choice to get up and stay engaged, having the choice to get up every day and do your best for this organization. And if you're not feeling it, and if you're not feeling like you can get up and give everything you can to making an organization great, what are you doing? And so I think it's a lot healthier for folks to recognize that if they don't feel their best, if they don't feel like they can give anymore, if they don't feel like they can do what it takes to get the job done, maybe they should consider, is there another path for me now? And when you think of your business as your family, it's so much harder to make that choice for yourself. For someone like me, it's hard to put yourself first anyway, no matter what. But if I think of these people as, but I've grown up with them, they are my family, how could I possibly leave them? That's not healthy for a person. And so it is something that I am trying to be cognizant of in terms of how I lead in my new organization. I'm still very much open to my team. I'm a very transparent leader. I'm not someone who's going to gatekeep like what's going on with me or something like that just because I'm in leadership. And I want to know what's going on with them. Whatever they want to divulge to me, I'm open for and I'm happy to listen because I do think of myself in a leadership position every so often as a little bit of a therapist. It is a little bit of the job. And so I want people to feel confident and comfortable that they can tell me what they need to tell me so that they can feel confident and comfortable in their job as
Yep.
well.
Initially, you tried to stay on for the 3 weeks, and then you spoke with your manager and said, I'm ready to go. I really wanted to speak to that period when you left and what your reaction to that was. I hear from a lot of people once they hit that messiness, they're rushing to find what's next. This uncertainty is really hard. And I'm wondering, was that your inclination to find what was next, or did you pause? Did you grieve? What happened once you left Custom Ink, and how did you move forward?
My last day in the office, I got a call from a recruiter and scheduled an interview.
So, right into it.
And then I had the interview with the folks, and the response was, we think you might need a little time before you join another company. We're going to pass for now. I thankfully had some leaders who reached out to me who had been let go in a couple of the previous waves that had happened. And they suggested the Never Search Alone book for me. And so it was funny because I got that book pretty quickly, didn't start reading it like immediately, but I gotta have a resume. I gotta have a resume. I haven't had an updated resume for 5 years at this point. So I was doing that and trying to figure out, like, how do I network with people? And then I started reading the book, and the book very quickly says, don't do any of that. Take a break, stop, breathe, get some therapy, all the things. And I was like, oh, it really spoke to me. It really made a lot of sense because the rejection that I was feeling in that moment, I really needed that to heal a little bit before I was entering a process where I was about to face a ton of rejection, because that is unfortunately what the job market is right now. Is you are going to be ghosted by a lot of folks who just don't have the time to respond to the 500 applications, 1,000 applications that they're getting. You're going to hear from folks who are just saying, after careful review of your resume, we're going to pass, even though it's been 30 seconds since you submitted. All of those things are going to happen. And giving yourself some time to stop and grieve and resolve the issues that you have from the rejection that you just received from your company, it does do a world of help.
When you read Never Search Alone, you listened. Phil Terry's book is awesome. And we'll
Yeah.
talk about Phil Terry also has the Never Search Alone job search community.
Yep.
I'm wondering, I've spoken with people, they read the book and they're like, okay, Phil, I need my next job. I need revenue. But you listened and you took that time.
Yeah, I did. The nice thing is I did have a good runway from custom ink. At the end of the day, do layoffs suck? Yes. And should we have found ways to have avoided that ever coming to fruition? Of course. At the same time, I think they stayed true to their core values when it had to come to that, of taking care of their people, treating others as they want to be treated. And my runway was very generous. And so I did have that opportunity to take that break. If you can find any way to take that break, I think it's really important and you deserve it. If you've gone through a layoff, like I went through a layoff, it's traumatic. If I were to be laid off today from a company that I've only been with for a year, it would still feel very traumatic to me. And I don't think it matters if you've been there a year, 20 years, whatever the case may be. It's a traumatic experience to be told you've been working as hard as you possibly can. No thanks.
It's really traumatic. And I hear from people all the time who, unfortunately, there's a lot of layoffs still, and they're still coming, especially in the tech world. And there's a lot of uncertainty. I think I'm saying messiness like 20 times a day. One thing that I've seen coming out of the messiness, and I'm wondering how it worked for you, is that when it's really messy, when you're going through the trauma of losing a job, it also is an opportunity to be sharing with others, like whether it's your friends, whether it's your broader network, whether it's the Never Search Alone community, it's an opportunity to be connecting more. Like I said, this
Yeah.
messiness, I've never connected more authentically with people than I have in the last couple of years. And I'm wondering for you, like, where has connection and community come into play for you since you moved on from custom ink?
Yeah, I think that hits the nail on the head. I think for me, that transition period was all about reaching out, talking to people. I really pushed myself to reach back out to the people that had been reporting to me, to one, see how they were doing in the transition. Several of them who had been reporting to me in my former role, they were still there. And they were people where I had brought them on. And it would have been very easy for me to just shut that all off and never talk to them again. But reaching back out, asking them about what they saw as my strengths and weaknesses, it was very fulfilling to me. I still have great connections with those folks, where a couple of them have subsequently moved on from Custom Ink. And when they were looking for jobs, I was able to talk with them and talk through where I thought they would do well versus what I thought maybe they should avoid looking at. And I am so grateful that I had not closed off those connections, because I love being able to help other people. I think that goes back to my earlier answer of why I stayed at Custom Ink so long. I love the opportunity to help others. And so reaching out and asking for that help in those moments where things felt really dire and really terrible. Some of them have made the choice that they want to find something new. It's not been a scenario where like they had to find something new, but they wanted to. And I've been able to help them.
You had mentioned too, and there's so many resources out there. I know both of us speak very highly of Phil Terry's Never Search Alone community and the job search councils. I know you participated in a job search council. If you were to just say at a high level, the one biggest thing you got out of that experience with your Never Search Alone council, what was that?
Probably the biggest thing that I got out of the job search council was the opportunity to feel like I was doing something in a time where it felt really hard to not be doing something. I didn't have a job to show up to every day, but having the Never Search Alone Council held me accountable to having this like checklist of here are my to dos. I need to have put together my 2-pager. I need to have done these interviews with folks. I need to have submitted these job applications. I needed to have done this networking. All of those things, like it gave me a sense of purpose in a moment where I really needed it. I am a person who constantly writes down a to-do list. And so the idea that suddenly my to-do list from a work perspective was completely gone was very difficult to accept. And this kind of filled that hole for me.
Mhm.
I think that kept me in a very positive and healthy mindset of, okay, I'm going to get up and these are the things I need to accomplish. And it kept me moving forward in a time where it would have been very easy to just not.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really careful, Kristen, to share. We all know life has ebbs and flows and there's ups and downs. So by no means am I saying, ta-da, you're at the other side. I understand there's mess at every point. You spoke to hundreds of people are applying for each job in the product world and the UX tech world. You reached the other side that you did find your next role. You also had several offers during this messiness. What was that experience of finding your next role and how did you get to the other side? Specifically, people talk a lot about their network and their connections. Can you share the story of how you eventually reached Breaking Tea?
Sure. Yeah. With BreakingT, I got introduced because the CEO happens to live next door to one of my son's friends. I was at a play date and the mom of this boy was talking to me. She was a doctor and had gone through a layoff, which I didn't even know that could be a thing. But she had gone through a layoff and she and I were talking through our experience. And as we're talking, she started explaining, oh, Alex runs this company that sounds like it might be really perfect for you. They do t-shirts, but it's very sports oriented. And I was like, okay. I don't know if you can see like up in the corner that football jersey is a 49ers jersey that is mine. I'm very big into sports. And I was like, oh, that sounds very interesting. So she made the introduction. Alex and I met, and the first time we met, he said, listen, you would be perfect for a job that I know that we need in this company, but I was not anticipating that we would be hiring this role until 2026, maybe 2027. And this was the beginning of 2024. And then as we kept talking, he was like, let's just stay in touch. And I said, we can do that. And then I went and I was continuing to apply for roles and then started interviewing. And so I reached back out to Alex and I let him know, hey, I've started interviewing. I'm interviewing with a couple different organizations right now. And he was like, okay, I want you to meet with my co-founder. So I met with the co-founder. He said he really enjoyed our discussion. We would stay in touch. And then he was like, listen, you don't want to work for those other companies. You want to work here. And I was like, I do, but also, oh, you're not offering me a job. I got to find a job. And so I kept going through the interview process with these other roles. And then it came down to a point where I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm going to get at least one of these. And so I got a message from him asking me to meet him at a coffee shop. We went and met, and he offered me a job, saying basically that he was recognizing that I was the right fit for the company and what they needed. And so he didn't want to miss out on the opportunity since I was available now. While I was driving home from that coffee shop, I got a call from the other organization that was offering me a job as well. I had some thinking to do in that moment, but it was definitely through my network. It wasn't even a professional network. It was very much like a friend recognized, hey, your experience seems like it might be really good for this other person that I know that has this company. I think what I say to people a lot that are going through these moments is you need to have the hustle so that you can be ready when the luck hits. Because right now it takes that bit of luck, unfortunately, but you have to be doing the hustle so that you've set yourself up for success when that moment hits.
Well, it speaks to me, Kristen, as you were telling your story of meeting with Alex and the leadership, like the hustle piece, especially during this messiness and with layoffs, people are taking a bit of a confidence hit oftentimes. You had an excellent conversation with Alex. He said, it's not the time yet. You understood and you continued the conversation. A lot of people would go, oh, well, that's a
Right. Yeah.
miss.
Yeah, absolutely. And having done the job now for a year, it was a perfect match. What they needed was 110% what I could offer. It's an organization where it was completely in line with stuff that I'm passionate about and excited about and know. And so that combination of I know the work, I'm excited about the work, it was so perfect. And so I wasn't just going to let it go when it wasn't, it felt like a maybe as opposed to a full on no. And so I wasn't going to let that go.
I have been saying when I hear these stories and where people landed on the other side, when I heard your trajectory there, there's really, as you said, 110% qualified for this role. There's only you with your background, expertise, passions, genius that would land with this role in exactly this configuration. And is that something that you felt like everything coming up to this point, this just felt right?
Exactly. And that's the thing is at the end of the day, the other role that I was offered potentially would have actually been a little bit more money.
Hmm.
The upside for this role that I took was just so much bigger than that other role. The other role was with a company that is massive. I would have been a cog in the wheel of a massive company. I was very open to that because it felt a little bit more secure. It felt a little safer. But then at the end of the day, I was like, I need to take this bet on myself. I've proven that I can go and I can find a job if I need to. I kind of went into it with the mentality of if I have to go through another moment where, because I joined a startup, we're 15 people, went into it with the idea that if this doesn't work out for whatever reason, I don't love it, they don't love me, the company doesn't do well or doesn't do as well as they need to keep me on, any of those reasons, I will be able to now have the skills and process that I need to go and find myself another job should the time come. In that moment, I decided I wanted to take the bet on myself that in a couple of years, maybe I become the COO, maybe I could become the CTO, maybe I become a combination of the two. That was not going to be my story if I had taken the other path. And so I wanted that opportunity for myself. I felt like at Custom Ink for 20 years, I kept beating my head on the wall because I said, I just want to be in the room. I want to be in the room and help define what the culture is. I want to be in the room and help define what the strategy is and what the path forward is. I felt like I was sitting back and watching as this company that I loved so much kept making these decisions to go in these different directions where I was like, this doesn't make sense. Why aren't we focused on X, Y, and Z? And I didn't want to be the person that was saying from the sidelines, that doesn't make sense. I wanted to be able to say, this is the way that I think we should do things and have it be an open conversation. Maybe I still don't win, but I at least be in the room and get to be a part of the conversation to help shape it. I wanted that opportunity. That's why I took that bet on myself in that moment.
what was going through my head, and you spoke to this, was your mindset now is, I will be okay. No matter what happens, no matter if I'm the COO at BreakingT or startups sometimes run into problems, but you'll be okay. For those who aren't feeling like they'll know they'll be okay, what would you tell them now? What's the next action they can take?
Yeah, I did not feel that way in 2023. I felt very lost initially. My kids were very upset. Custom Ink has a logo that is called Inky, which is a little octopus figure. And my kids were very attached to Inky. We had a lot of everything with Inky on it. The moment I told them that I was no longer working there, the three of them all started wailing and crying. Having a discussion with them forced me to say, it's going to be okay. I might not have known it or believed it in the moment, but I was able to say to them, it's going to be okay. And then I did have the realization as I said that it's going to be okay because in the 20 years that I have been working, I have always shown up for other people and I have always worked very hard to be a good person who other people are going to want to help. And so while I felt very lost and while I felt like I had no idea what I was going to be able to do, who I felt like I was as a great employee was I knew Custom Ink inside and out. And so to think, what could I do to apply that to anything else felt very daunting to me because I was like, that's what I'm good at. I'm good at knowing that company. No one else cares. So why would they care about what I have to bring? But knowing that I had so many people in my corner meant that it was going to be okay because I was going to be able to lean on others. And so that's what I would say to anybody else facing this is think about how much you have done in your life. Doesn't matter what your work is. It doesn't matter what you know or don't know about AI or if the next big buzz thing is. What matters is you have made connections throughout your life. Take this moment to pause, to breathe, and then start leaning on all those connections.
Kristen, thank you. And you spoke to your kids and having to share with them what was happening during this messy period for you. I think a lot about what our kids see from us and what they learn from these messy periods. Now that you're somewhat, well, it's a year and a half out from then when they
Mhm.
were sad about Inky. What do you think your kids saw from you and learned from you? What are you most proud of? Like, what do you think, especially your older one, friends with my son, like, what do you
Yep.
think he took away from watching you?
I think the thing that I'm most proud of is that, yes, I put on a bit of a brave face, but at the same time, I let them see that I was vulnerable. At no point did I hide the fact that, this was a situation that was serious and it was a situation that was a little bit scary to me and that I was going to have some feelings that or sometimes I was going to be sad about it. And sometimes I was going to need some moments to be allowed to cry and be sad. I'm hopeful that when my kids grow up, they know that it's okay to feel these different feelings because they're going to feel them. As much as I want for them to be happy 100% of their life, that's not reality. That's not a realistic goal for me to have for them. I want them to know that it's going to be okay in the moments where they feel sad because they'll feel sad and then it's going to pass and they'll be able to be happy again on the other side of that sad. And they can feel frustrated and they can feel angry and they can feel disappointed. And so I feel the best about having let them know that I am a human and that humans have a variety of those feelings and that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of feelings, thank you, Kristen, for all of your time today. This was so much fun and I learned so much. We've talked about some of those raw times. In the next year or so, what are you most excited about? What are you hoping for?
So with Breaking Tea, my excitement is back in I want to make sure that Breaking Tea is always the leader. We're always jumping out ahead and coming up with the ideas that other people haven't come up with. And we're doing something to come through for our partners and our customers and our retail partners to make sure that we're coming through for them in ways that nobody else can.
excitement is coming through. I can hear it and I can see it. And Kristin, thank you. Thank you so much for today. This was
Yeah.
so fun chatting.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.